Hello, fellow YouTubers. This is the Imaginator. I'm here today to bring you guys and ladies my One Piece manga chapter 1046 review. The title of this One Piece manga chapter is called Raizo. The first page is the continuation of the cover story. There appears to be two silhouettes who have arrived at Chocolate Town. I believe that was Pudding's territory, from what I remember. But of course, her mother, Big Mom, owns the entire, you know, territory. But one of her daughters, Pudding, was actually in charge of that portion of the territory, and it appears that they made quite the presence, as the civilians are kind of somewhat frightened, of seeing them. So I'm kind of curious who those two individuals are. I think I do have an idea because since I watched the anime, but I'm just still going to keep myself in the secretive mode and just assume that, well, pretty much just say that I still don't know who they are. There's a possibility that I do know who they are. Okay, now to the main portion of the story, or the main focus of the story is commences with Luffy and Kaido commencing with their battle, and then Luffy just still for the last chapter just jumping and having like a great time, like he's in the beach, and and pretty much Zunisha is pretty much having faith that Joy Boy. He's glad that the rhythms that he's having heard for like over 800 years is now, still he still is able to hear those same rhythms that he has heard for 800 years, and that he's faithful that Joy Boy uh, will pretty much bring the new dawn of a new age, which is Luffy. And then Kaido starts to question, Luffy's identity, and Luffy, of course, says his name, and he goes to say his iconic line, I will surpass you, and I will become the king of the pirates. Well, I'm the man, I will become the king of the pirates. And then then Kaido is still kind of learning and getting used to Luffy's Gear 5th form. And then Luffy and Kaido both exchange consecutive techniques. And I think one of the techniques Luffy used, you actually see like the punch marks that's coming through, Kaido as it successfully lands, which that's kind of like the new feature of Luffy's impact in Gear 5th, which I think is pretty cool and it's very fitting, especially due to the new cartoony style. And then Kaido does one of his techniques, Demolition Gus. Luffy pretty much dodges it. Uh, and then as that battle is continuing to transpire, and Fitting Onigashima, we see everything engulfed in flames in different portions in the entire Onigashima building, structure. In the Providence Fort, that's where the main fire is at. And then everybody's kind of like, we see everybody what they're doing and how they're trying to get themselves out of the fire. And with Sanji and Nami, Chopper, Brooke, Robin, Frankie, and Beppo, and Killer, and etc. People are like, there's some people that are carrying other people who are wounded from their battles. It's pretty much all over the place. And then we get to see Jinbei and Raizo, and Raizo, this is pretty much what the chapter is about. Raizo kind of has some regret that he couldn't protect Odin and his wife Toki, and then he uses his technique called Nipo, I think elephant, something it was. It was a technique he used, and then Jimmy uses his technique, the ocean shoulder thrust throw, and those two combined attacks are pretty much the purpose is to wash away the flames that are currently engulfing in Onigashima. And then it's kind of cool how it's designed too, where it's kind of like a hydro pump, like kind of like Blastoise from Pokemon, where it's like a focus oval shaped water that's just traveling, throughout the Onigashima. And then as this was occurring, Yamato says to Momonosuke, "Hey, you still got to keep the fire clouds going, active, because the Onigashima needs to stay afloat because it's about to fall." As she announces to Momonosuke, and then then I see Luffy with grabbing lightning, which I was like, "Whoa, that's freaking awesome!" And Kaido's obviously thrilled and smiling at Luffy as Luffy's about to go into his attack. And that is the end of the chapter overall. I enjoyed the chapter. There was a little bit of fighting, but more so of the characters, trying to get out of this fire. And pretty much Usopp too, which I forgot to mention in this chapter. Funny enough, there's a lot of communication involved. Everyone is just very hanging on by a thread by being aware of the fire, and Jinbei and Raizo are actually the solution now into creating water, well, mainly so Jinbei, to wash away the fire. That was sure, pretty much everybody's safety, regardless of enemy, friend, or foe. I like that Luffy is still like on it with his Gear Fifth, doing his techniques and staying determined, defeating Kaido, and Kaido's whole dialogue and trying to understand Luffy's powers. I thought that was pretty intriguing. And that's pretty much it. Once you got the Apu and the Ibiki situation, not much to go in there, just them complaining. And that's pretty much it. That's my thoughts overall. The chapter, I thought the chapter was great. Well, it was good, and I just like the dialogue and seeing how all the characters are doing in the current situation of things. All right, so hopefully, you guys enjoyed my review of One Piece Manga Chapter 1046. Like the video, comment your thoughts down below, and subscribe to my channel to Imagine for more Manga Chapter reviews, anime discussions, and many more. With all that being said, fellow YouTubers, y'all have a wonderful day.